MG, here's the list of all my questions that need to be answered by you. This is kitchen paper towel. Shh. I know, it's written in video script. We need to assume that this is a long list of questions, so continue acting.
Oh, okay.
I cannot answer all these questions because some of them are out of my field of expertise and experience, so I don't have the knowledge to answer them. Then clone yourself. You can have multiple versions of yourself with each having a specific expertise in a field.
It's like having multiple ChatGPT agents,
Each of them with different expertise to handle a specific request or answer a question, right? Exactly, or like having multiple virtual assistants to handle your customer requests with different expertise needed. Then, let's go.
Hello everyone, this is MG and welcome to another video. Well, I previously recorded a couple of videos that I showed you how you can connect GPT-based answer, let's say ChatGPT, to your own data. So you receive the answer of your request based on the data sources that you have and you specify them. But at some points you might need to answer specific questions in more advanced scenarios that requires different type of knowledge, expertise, or APIs to let the answer be ready for you. Let me give you an example. Let's say you want to create a virtual assistant as a customer service for your company. So your customer will log into your website and ask questions about an issue with a device that you have sold that as a company product. But connecting ChatGPT to just one specific source of data would be not enough. Not enough for answering that question. Based on that specific customer request, you might need to route that question to a specific agent of ChatGPT that has access to a specific knowledge in your company to answer that. So in this video, we are going to figure that out, how we can have multiple agents, like multiple copilots or multiple virtual assistants to route the questions of a user to those agents, and each agent is expert in a specific field. And of course, we will have another intelligent agent to monitor the behavior of these agents with the customer and making sure that routing the customer question to the correct agent is being done in a proper way. So let's figure it out to see how we can have a multiple agent solution that all based on GPT or something like ChatGPT in our own projects. Then let's check it out.
Before we start, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you will get notified for the next video. Thank you. Alright, welcome back everyone, and let's dig into multi-agent conversation. And as you can guess, we are going to have actually multiple instances that they're all powered by a GPT solution like GPT 3.5 or GPT-4 to handle a request. The very first question you might ask from yourself is that, why do I need to have multiple agents? If ChatGPT already knows everything, I can ask questions about any topic, then why should I have multiple instances of that API call to reach out to the same type of model? Well, you're right. If you want to ask a question that a typical ChatGPT instance would know the answer, let's say I want to ask a question about anything that already exists on internet, so this model knows, then it can answer. But if you think about it more precisely, when you create your own application or your own virtual assistant for your own company, for example, the knowledge of ChatGPT by itself or whatever it can provide is not enough. It again needs to connect to your data sources to be able to answer a question. For example, if one of your internal employees asks a question about his or her paycheck, that answer is not available on the internet. So these models have never seen. Then your GPT instance should sort of connect to your HR data, grab that info, give it to the model, and then provide the answer. But how about this? HR question was just one example. There might be questions about service desk. There's something wrong with my laptop. There's something wrong with hardware or software. So as you can see, all different categories of questions, they need their own data sources to get the answer prepared. That's why we sometimes need to have multiple agents and having each of them specialize in a field. Well, let's say here I have pool of three specialists or three agents. But how can I call them a specialist? How I specialize them? Well, of course, we are not going to train another chat GPT from scratch to just learn HR data and we call it HR specialist. But by specialist here, I mean I'm going to provide HR info to this agent. I'm going to provide hardware and software info to this agent or XY topics to this agent. That means I am customizing how I am calling and providing input to these models, and I call them a specialist. Then, first of all, we need to understand when a customer asks questions about paycheck, that should go to a specialist that knows HR info. Then how we decide that? We will have another agent that we call it routing agent. That routing agent will route that question to which a specialist should answer that. And we will have a monitoring agent to make sure that first the conversation runs smoothly. There is an asynchronous listening to the whole conversation. And this one will activate a new specialist agent if needed. Okay, so how to enable this? Here is a quick repository. I'm gonna add the link of this repo to the Discord channel on the reference section. Check that out. This is not a repo that you will use it as is to productionize something, not really. But I found it a good demo, a good starter, a good accelerator to give you an idea of why do we need multi-agent and how we can enable that. But of course, for making it working on your own projects, you have to further customize it. But I thought let me provide you a walkthrough how you can enable this demo as is and give you a bit of idea what's going on here on the backend side. So you need to download this code, Copilot.py. It is running on app.py. That means when you run it, you will see a chatbot like this. And you can see here, for example, when customer asks I need help with my laptop, this agent is an specialist agent for, let's say, hardware, and it is start answering the question. Then the customer asks another question for another help. Then now we have switched the agent to another, I think that's an HR agent. There you go. I think W2 stands for something like HR info, and it is according to ADP. So it is answering question based on the data sources provided to this specialist. So they have the advanced version of this as well. What does that mean? With the advanced version, which is this one, Copilot V2, the idea is the same, but the difference is that the agents can delegate tasks, or these specialists can do something, not just answering a question. Well, FYI, ChatGPT and GPT models are just large language models. When I say delegate a task, that doesn't mean these models can do something. They can call an API or create a support ticket, whatever. No. But what we can do, we can get the output of these large language models to define what is a task. For example, if my specialist number one, which is HR, answer in the prompt that request to a support ticket, I will parse that output and I will realize that, okay, because my ChatGPT specialist one, which is HR, said support ticket, that keyword to me, that means I need to call the support ticket API. Then I can code that. That means with using a specialist HR info, I was able to delegate a task, do something beyond. I can search a data source, call API, do whatever you want based on your custom scenario, based on what your HR specialist should do, what your software or hardware specialist should do. And again, these are just examples. So in order to start, again, you need to have all these Copilot. If you want to run both of them, get both of them. These are Streamlit app codes. And you need to also make sure you have these packages installed in your Python environment. And utils are some helper functions that Copilot and Copilot V2.py, they're loading them. And by the way, as you can see, you need to create a secrets.env file to put your Azure OpenAI endpoint and Azure OpenAI key. So create that file. You can use VS Code to create it. Put your OpenAI key and OpenAI endpoint there so you can load it later. In order to show you mine, let me go to my VS Code. You can see that I have downloaded V2, Copilot.py. This is the place that I have my key and the helper function. And by the way, I loaded one of the JSON files that one of the codes was loading. This is a data source example. Let's say if a customer asks questions about HR and paycheck, This is a source of data, so I'm going to bring this to the model to answer. Of course, this is something fixed you might have beyond just a file. You will have ton of sources in HR, but just give you an example and let the demo working, I saw that they have added this sample data to the demo. Okay, so for the secrets, as you can see, I have Azure OpenAI endpoint, OpenAI key, add the credentials there to let your code to start working. But before I run the code, Copilot.py or V2, let me actually show you what they're doing. So let me open Copilot.py. As you can see here, these are our specialists. I have a base agent. That means that agent is just a base one. It doesn't have any speciality. We do have, for example, Office 365. This is for the agent answering customer questions about Office 365. Okay. The same thing we have Azure agent. We have Windows agent. So these can be your own company agents. And then this is the first level customer support agent. What does that mean? Remember I told you we will have a coordinator and an agent to call these agents. This is the coordinator person. This is the first agent that the customer will interact with. So this is there to just route the question of the user to one of these departments. There you go, they're here. So if you're telling that what you should do, this is how you need to have the inputs. And by the way, when you decide which one we should call, generate the output like this. So whenever the output of this prompt is Office 365, then that means, okay, I know I need to call that agent to answer that question. How? Again, inside one of those, there you go. For example, if we have HR in the output, the agent is HR. If we have Windows, Office 365, here we are defining the agent based on the output of this coordinator. And remember I told you we will have a monitoring persona. This is the one. They're saying that you are the agent that monitor this. Your job is listen to the customer and determine the main department that the customer should be routed to. Now, how do we create these monitor, coordinator, and these agents? Well, we are importing something called agents, and we put the persona, and the agent is created. How do we do it? We imported agent from utils. So I want to open that .py code shortly, but you will see that we are importing more stuff, not just agent. We have RAG agent as well. So what's the difference between agents? Let me go back here. Agents and RAG agent. Well, RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. That's for those specialists that they need to get access to a data source to provide the answer. For example, remember I told you when you ask a HR question, that HR question should get answered by some HR data. That's why that agent is not just a simple agent, it's a RAG agent. And that RAG agent will use that sample data that I told you before, this one, to answer the question. You can see it's coming from an article as an example. So we get the inputs, we will define the agent that need to get answered, and there are some specific information about the design of the Streamlit UI, where we should have some button, where we should have the text box that user can chat stuff. But the main functionality is happening inside the utils. These are the helper functions that we call. This is the place that we create our agents, or the functions that create agents. For example, here's a function to find an article. For example, if a customer asks questions about hardware and we have data sources about our company hardware, we have to find the relevant article, let's say using cosine similarity. I already explained that in our chat with your data video, but this is a technique that how you can grab the relevant references of your data to answer a specific question. I didn't see anywhere in this demo that is using this function, but it has been added there to give you reference if you have a specialist or an agent that needs to access to your data with cosine similarity to get the answer there. This is the one that create the agent. You can see that we are just specifying a role and the persona, and persona is an input. So for example, your Azure persona, your hardware, software, HR persona. But the one that we have RAG, there you go. You will see that it is slightly different. We are not only telling that who you are, this is your persona, but we are saying that, hey, by the way, in order to answer the question, you need to use these sources of data. What are those sources? Let's say HR sources. So we need to dynamically bring it to the prompt. It is exactly like how you chat with your PDF files using GPT. The same scenario. So moving back to Copilot V2, it's pretty similar with the slide change I mentioned that. So this one, instead of having the question getting routed, let's say, to multiple agents, we will have a smart agent. Here is a smart IT agent that will leverage other agents to answer a question. As an end user, I feel like this is the same agent that always answer all the questions, but not really. On back end, it is actually calling other agents, get the answer from them, and then answer to me. But in order to reach out to other agents, how you gonna do that, what you gonna do, this is a little bit different. For example, here it is telling that, hey, when you receive a question from the user, if it's a software problem, you need to do a couple of things. First, you need to summarize customer problem and ask help from software specialist. Then you need to send a message to a specialist by this format. Hey, here's a message, here's a software, here's a problem description. And then get the answer from that specialist, which is for software, and respond to the customer. Again, you might say that large language model cannot do any task. It is just generating words. That's it. You're right. And this is what we are asking the model to actually generate, not to do them. So that means if it follows these steps, then I can parse the outcome of this model. Then I will have a text for my support ticket. Then I have a response from a specialist. And I know that there's a summary of my customer problem, so I will send it to the software specialist by my code. So the actual task will be done by my code, but what you're gonna do will be told by this model, right? This model, I mean GPT, let's say GPT 2.5, GPT, or whatever model that you're leveraging here. The rest is almost similar. We will have the intent capture. If in response we have HR, then that's an HR question, that's a software question, and the rest is some sort of design of the UI for a Streamlit application. So how you are going to run this initial demo? Well, after you downloaded these files, make sure again you install the requirement.txt that I showed you. Do pip install all those packages that is available in the repo. Then make sure the Streamlit is there. Make sure you add your OpenAI key stuff there, and then you can just simply say Streamlit run copilot.py or copilot v2.py. This is how you launch an Streamlit application. And make sure the place that you're running this command line is inside the place that you have downloaded these files, which is mine is here. Let me hit enter. There you go. It just automatically launched on my localhost browser. This Streamlit app, you can later on deploy to your Azure web application or have it externally available for other people. Here I'm just running locally on my machine. So let's say let's ask an HR question. For example, I want to say to know more about my paycheck. Well, of course that's not a casual question, it's pretty vague, but I just want to see how it works. Sure, I can help you. Okay, sure. What a specific question do you have about your paycheck? Yeah, I was expecting to have that question getting back to me. But let's see what's happening on the backend side. If I run my terminal, there you go. You see that it is switching agent to HR. So it understood that my question is relevant to HR. For example, let's think about what I'm gonna ask about paycheck. Let's say, how do I receive my paycheck? Oops. There you go. It says ADP offers two. Okay, you know where that question is coming from? Sorry, that answer is coming from? I think I saw that somewhere. There you go. You may receive your paycheck via direct deposit or physical check. That means that HR agent could connect it to my data source and answer the question, because this agent was a RAG agent, not a typical one. And it simply worked. Now let's totally shift the conversation. Let's say My laptop is not working. It's not really an HR question, right? Okay, so I ran it for the first time, asking question about my laptop. It gave me a timeout error. I think it was a timeout with Azure OpenAI API. And I asked it again, and so it is sort of helping me, asking me some follow-up questions. I'm not going to put the time there, but just wanted to make sure it can switch to other agent. And when I get back to my terminal, I had this timeout error, and there you go. You can see that now the session is switched to IT. I'm no longer dealing with an HR sort of conversation or HR specialist. So again, that was just pretty, I would say, basic explanation of multiple agents conversation. And these agents are not doing anything specific. They are just they're just empowered by different prompts. But later on, you can empower these agents with different data sources or do some action items on the top of what these agents can do. And just think about how you can customize it for your own scenarios, develop your own agents, connect your own sources of data to let these agents beyond just being a prompt answer. I hope that video helped to show you just an art of possibility. Again, I will add this demo link to the Discord channel. Check that out. And if you have any questions or any comments, feel free to write down below in the comment section of video. Thanks a lot for watching.
Let me tell you about a voice. Not this one.
The one that whispers. It tells me what's right and what is not. When to say yes, when to say no. Sometimes this voice is crystal clear. Sometimes it just whispers. Don't let this voice down in this noisy world. Because in the end, no man nor algorithm knows what is the best for you. Always trust your inner voice. Everybody has one. Few listen to it.
Dream big, my friends. Believe in yourself and take action. Till next video, take care.